Welcome to the Good Old Days of Radio Show. This is John Tefteller, your host. It is Thursday. On Tuesday, you heard another classic Jack Benny radio program. And today, Jack Benny is going to appear in a very different role. More serious, not completely serious, but a more serious role. As a piano tuner. Anyway, I'll let our esteemed guest host here, Dr. Joe Webb, who's back with us again, set this up for us. But it's called Murder in G-Flat, and it's from April 5th, 1951, and it stars Jack Benny. So, Dr. Joe Webb, welcome back to the Good Old Days of Radio Show, and what do you have to say about this one?
Benny was on Suspense 4 different times. Each one of them is special. And this is the first one. He's playing a piano tuner named Hercules, and even the name is hilarious. He and Elliot Lewis. This is from the period where Lewis is the producer of the show. They knew each other. They've worked together. Lewis was on his show in bit parts and all kinds of things. And from the way the story goes, at least as it's told by the newspapers and possibly by CBS publicity to them. Benny's reaction was that he heard Dennis Day offered a part on Suspense, and that's the episode Christmas for Carol, where he played a bank teller who became a bandit, and that Benny called Lewis and said, "What's the matter with me?" And then a few weeks later, Jack was on Suspense as a piano tuner. The story behind Benny getting on this show is good, but Benny had a script written by Richard George Pettacini basically just for him, at the request of Lewis, and it fits into Benny's acting style. I mean, there are no laughs in the story, but as you're listening to it, there are smirks, and you'll know that it's Benny doing it, obviously, but it's not done for the laughs. It's done for that smirk and for the amusement. He is a piano tuner, and he finds $25,000, and then he finds it on a bag. He finds a bag with $25,000, which is more than $300,000 today. So he finds the money on the subway, and one of the decisions is, does he keep the money for himself, or does he do something with it in trying to return it to the right people? Joe Kearns plays Jack Benny's uncle. Now, Kearns had been on the Benny Show a lot, and it's very, very clear that Benny's uncle in this story was a criminal, and he has some real interesting ideas about keeping the money. And it's Kearns and that interaction with Benny that also makes this episode particularly good. I was not expecting much. I had heard the show years ago, and now that I know more about Elliot Lewis and Benny's career, and have a new appreciation for Joe Kearns after listening to so many Suspense episodes, this is such a wonderful experience in listening that I found myself wanting to listen to it a second and a third time just to enjoy it all the more.
Well, great. And I think our audience is going to like it. If you're a Jack Benny fan, you're going to like it. If you're not a Jack Benny fan, you're still going to like it because it's a great performance by an actor in either case. Okay, it's Murder in G-Flat from April 5th, 1951. And we have another little interesting clip that we will play related to this after we finish the show. So here we go.
Autolite and its 96,000 dealers present Suspense. Tonight, Autolite brings you a story of treachery and greed. A story we call Murder in G-Flat, starring Mr. Jack Benny.
Greetings, Pepito, my favorite Frijoles fryer. What's on the menu?
The special, Senor Wilcox, she is Autolite Stay Full Battery.
You mean you're serving the battery that needs water only 3 times a year in normal car use?
See. What is better for quick, dependable starts, huh?
Ah, nothing's better than an Autolite Stay Full, that frisky friend of car owners from coast to coast. But
What? You don't want one, Senor?
everybody wants an Autolite Stay Full, the buxom battery with fiberglass retaining mats protecting every positive plate to prevent shedding and flaking, and to keep the Autolite Stay Full battery power-packed for paramount performance.
See. How you want it, Senor?
Why, it's perfect just as it is, Pepito, and built to give longer life, as proved by tests conducted according to accepted life cycle standards. So, friends, have your neighborhood Autolite battery dealer serve your car an Autolite Stay Full battery, the battery that needs water only 3 times a year in normal car use.
See. And remember...
You're always right with Autolite.
And now, with Murder in G-Flat and the transcribed performance of Mr. Jack Benny, Autolite hopes once again to keep you in suspense.
Oh, Lieutenant, in here, sir, in the rec hall.
What's he doing in the rec hall?
Well, he thought he'd tune the piano while I was waiting, Lieutenant.
Sunday night. Why couldn't you guys pick a better night than Sunday night? My one day off, and I have to come down here.
Sorry we had to call you, Joe.
This is the guy, huh?
Yeah. Hey, you.
That's it. C flat. If I had my wrench...
This is the lieutenant.
Oh, I'm sorry, Lieutenant.
Name?
Oh, my name is Remington. Hercules Remington.
That's it, Joe. We checked.
Pardon me, Lieutenant, but my wife, Martha, is going to be awfully worried. You see, I haven't seen her since this morning. They told me...
You haven't seen your wife since this morning?
No, and I thought that if I could phone her and at least tell her where I am...
Where'd you pick him up?
Coney Island, Joe. He called us from there.
Yes, and I should have called my wife, too. Look, Lieutenant, I don't want to seem persistent about
You'll have
this.
plenty of time later to call your wife. Now, give the lieutenant the story in detail, just like you told it to me on the way down here to the station.
What kind of work do you do, Remington?
Well, I'm a piano tuner, Lieutenant. Yours is out of tune. C flat, Lieutenant. See, if I could get my bag, I'd tune
Look,
this.
Remington, I haven't got all night. Now, either get on with your story or I'll have...
All right, Lieutenant. But I really would like to call my wife first.
Start your story.
All right. But if there's any explaining to be done to my wife, you guys will have to do it.
We'll be happy to. Now, go ahead.
Yes, sir. Well, Lieutenant, this whole mess started yesterday morning, Saturday. I got up, had breakfast with my wife, Martha, and my Uncle Herman. He's my black sheep uncle of the family. He's a carnival man, came to work at the World's Fair here, and has been living with us ever since. I think he ought to pay at least 1/3 of the rent, but Martha, well, she feels sorry for him. Anyway, I left the house around 10 o'clock on my way to the Lippenridge School of Music. I usually tune their pianos on the first Saturday of the month. You see, because there aren't any classes there on that Saturday. I catch the BMT at 57th and get off at Union Square. Well, yesterday morning I got on the subway, just like I always do. I carry a little ordinary brown bag with all my tools in it and usually lay it right next to me under the seat. I was just sitting there, thinking hard, wondering how I was going to meet the bills at the end of the month, when a man sat down next to me. He shoved something under the seat and just sat there staring ahead. B flat, D flat, B flat, D flat, B flat, D flat.
I beg your pardon.
Oh, I'm sorry. I guess I got carried away for a moment. 4 stops later, the man got up, reached under the seat, pulled out a little brown bag, and started for the door. I remember noticing he was bald-headed and wearing big black horn-rimmed glasses. For a minute, I thought he'd stolen my bag of tools, but I reached my hand under the seat and found my bag was still there. I remember sort of chuckling to myself, thinking of the coincidence that he'd been carrying the same type of bag. Well, anyway, I got off at Union Square and walked up to the Lippenridge School of Music on 14th. There are 4 floors there, a piano on each floor. And I usually start at the top and work my way down. Well, since the school doesn't have any classes on Saturday, the place was deserted. That one's sour. Yeah, D flat. Well, I'll soon have that in shape. What the... I zipped open my bag to take out my tuning hammer and my wedges, but there were no tools in my bag. The tools were gone, and in their place were bundles and bundles of crisp $10 bills. And then it hit me. The little bald-headed man on the subway. The man who sat down next to me. This bag belonged to him. He picked up mine by mistake. There was no name on the bag, no identification of any kind. I started counting one of the bundles. Each bundle contained $1,000 in $10 bills, and there were 25 bundles. I had just come heir to $25,000. When I got home, Martha was washing some clothes out on the back porch, and Uncle Herman was rolling pennies for his pitch penny concession. I called both of them into the living room, pulled all the shades down, closed and locked all the doors, and set the bag on the table.
Hercules, what are you doing back home so soon?
What kind of nonsense is this, nephew?
Martha, Uncle Herman.
You look awful pale.
I guess I do.
Hercules, what's the matter with you?
Listen to me, both of you. I'm rich.
Oh, for heaven's sakes, Hercules, act your age.
I'm not lying to you.
Look, I gotta get out.
You must be sick.
Look, will both of you be quiet for just a minute?
Sounds like he's drunk.
Are you sick, Hercules?
Look, I'm not sick and I'm not drunk. I've got it right here.
You've got what?
Look. Wow.
Hercules.
Now do you believe me? Now do you believe I'm not sick or drunk? Look at it. $25,000.
$25,000? That's a lot of money.
Hercules, where'd you get all this money?
I found it.
Found it?
Found it?
Yes.
Listen to me, Hercules Remington. Don't you lie to me. Where'd you get all that money?
I told you, Martha. I found it.
I haven't lived with you for 10 years for nothing. I know when you're lying to me. Now tell me, where'd you get all this money?
Okay, if I tell you the truth, I know you won't believe
Well, tell me anyway.
Well, all right. Look, this morning I got on the subway, just like I always do. And some little bald-headed man with black horn-rimmed glasses sat down next to me. When he got up to get off the subway, I noticed he was carrying a brown bag, just like mine. At first I thought it was mine. But mine was still under the seat. Anyway, when I got to the music school, I opened my bag, and all this money was in it.
Sounds fantastic.
Hercules.
But it's the truth. The little man picked up my bag by mistake. I searched this one for some identification, but there isn't any.
Then you mean the little bald-headed man has your bag with the tools in it?
I guess he does.
It seems odd that anyone would be carrying this much money around in a little brown bag.
Odd or not, the fact still remains that I didn't steal it.
Well, I guess there isn't any way that you can get a hold of this man, so we'll just have to turn the money over to the police.
The police?
Yes, I said the police.
But why?
Why? Good heavens, Hercules, you don't expect to keep this money.
Why not?
But it isn't ours.
Why? Why isn't it ours? I found it. I didn't steal it, Martha.
Hercules.
Martha, don't you see? Maybe this is fate. Maybe we were meant to have this money. Maybe if
You're crazy. You're out of your head. You're talking like a madman, and I won't have it.
But, Martha...
You didn't come by this money honestly. It isn't legally yours.
Now, wait a minute, Martha. Maybe Hercules is
Now, you stay out of this, Uncle Herman. Hercules, you're going to take this money to the police.
No. No, I'm not. I'm not going to take this to the police or anyone else. Do you understand me? I'm not going to take this money to the police.
Hercules, I don't understand you at all. But mark my words, you'll pay for this.
Well,
Don't pay no attention to her, nephew.
But why does she have to be that way? Why can't she understand me just this once? Why can't she see my side of it? I didn't steal this money.
No, you didn't, nephew.
And I'm going to keep it.
Sure you are, nephew. Sure you are. You're going to keep it.
You bet I am. The next morning, that was this morning, Sunday, Martha wouldn't speak to me at all. Her eyes were all red and puffed up. I could see that she'd been crying. And Uncle Herman wasn't doing much talking either. Martha just kept sniffling as she puttered around the stove. Martha, my peach isn't peeled.
Peel it yourself.
But
Here, I'll peel it for you, nephew.
Thanks, Uncle Herman. Martha, please, won't
Don't
you
you
try...
talk to me.
No, don't be too hard on him, Martha. After all, a man's got a
I
right.
told you once, Uncle Herman, you stay out of this. It's none of your business.
Sorry. She's plenty mad. Well, ain't you going to answer the phone?
Hello?
Mr. Remington?
Yes?
Hercules Remington?
Yes, who is this, please?
I want to return your bag of piano tools to you, Mr. Remington. I believe there was a slight mix-up. I believe in my haste I picked up your bag instead.
But how did you find me? I mean...
Oh, it was quite simple. There's only one piano tuner with the initials HR in New York City.
well, what do you know?
You do want your piano tools back, don't you, Mr. Remington?
Listen to me.
I don't think you'd like the idea of not being able to tune any more pianos.
What?
And I'd like to have my bag returned.
Of course.
As soon as possible.
Yes.
Tonight.
Tonight?
At 9:30 tonight. Meet me at Madison Square Garden.
Madison Square Garden?
At 9:30 at the 49th Street entrance. The door on the far end will be left slightly open. And, please be prompt, Mr. Remington, with my brown bag. You see, it will displease my business partner considerably if he finds I've lost the bag.
No, all right. The 49th Street entrance, the door on the far end.
Hercules, what's wrong? Well, you're as white as a ghost.
I am?
You sure are.
I guess I should be. That was the little bald-headed man with horn-rimmed glasses, Uncle Herman. I've just lost $25,000. Uncle Herman went in the living room to read the Sunday paper, and I went in the bedroom to tell Martha about the phone call. But she wasn't there. In fact, she wasn't anywhere in the house. She was gone, and I figured that she'd probably gone over to her sister's house. I was so nervous the rest of the afternoon I couldn't eat a thing. I left the house for Madison Square Garden about 9 o'clock. From riches to rags in about 24 hours. And I was back riding the subway. I walked up 8th Avenue to the garden. I turned and walked up 49th Street to the entrance and stopped. Sure enough, one of the doors on the far end was open a little, just as the little man had told me it would be. I slipped in through the open door. It was pitch black. I couldn't see a thing. Hello? Hello? Anybody here? Hello? Is there anyone here? What the? I stumbled over something and almost fell. I struck a match and looked down at a body. The body of the little man in horn-rimmed glasses. His head was all covered with blood. I started to blow out the match, and then something caught my eye. Lying next to his body was my brown bag with the initials HR. And next to the bag, covered with blood, was my tuning hammer.
Autolite is bringing you Mr. Jack Benny in Murder in G-Flat, tonight's production in radio's outstanding theater of thrills, Suspense.
Senor Wilcox, why does the Autolite Stay Full battery need water like Pepito needs a hole in the head?
Well, Pepito, the Autolite Stay Full needs water only 3 times a year in normal car use because that consistently conserving and constantly cooperating battery has over 3 times the liquid protection of batteries without Stay Full features.
And why is the Autolite Stay Full strong as a bull, senor?
Because of the fiberglass retaining mats protecting every positive plate. They prevent shedding and flaking and keep the power-producing materials in place.
Greater convenience and dependable starting, yes, senor?
Right, Pepito. And in addition, the Autolite Stay Full battery gives you longer life, as proved by tests conducted according to accepted life cycle standards.
And all this make the Stay Full welcome a siesta after fiesta. Eh, senor?
Right you are. So, friends, visit your neighborhood Autolite battery dealer for an Autolite Stay Full. The battery that needs water only 3 times a year in normal car use. Your Autolite battery man is fully equipped to give you the best in battery advice and service because...
Because you are always right with Autolite.
And now Autolite brings back to our Hollywood soundstage Mr. Jack Benny in Elliot Lewis's production of Murder in G-Flat, a tale well calculated to keep you in suspense.
Please, Lieutenant, may I call my wife? I want
Finish
to...
your story first, Mr. Remington. You can call her after that.
Oh, all right.
Now, you were standing over the body of this man in Madison Square Garden. You found your tuning hammer next to the body.
Yes, my tuning hammer. Let me tell you, Lieutenant, I was scared. Plenty scared. Here I was standing over a dead man in Madison Square Garden. And clutched in my hand was his brown bag containing $25,000. Who would kill them? Who would... But I couldn't stop to think about that now. I had to get out of there, and fast, and take my bag and hammer lying on the floor with me. I started to reach for my bag when... a sound, G-flat. Someone had opened up a knife. Whoever it was coming toward me, I blew out the match and waited. Who was in that corridor with me? Was it the business partner of the little man? Was it... I started to move backwards, and then a big black figure loomed up at me. With all my strength, I brought the brown bag swinging up from the floor. I ran until I thought my legs would drop. My mind was all fogged up now. I couldn't think straight. Who was the guy who just tried to kill me? One thing I knew for sure, I had to get rid of this money until I could think things out. But where? Where could I get rid of it? I neared the corner of 59th and 8th Avenue and then saw it. A bus terminal. Why not? A public locker in the bus station. I opened the door and walked in.
Scranton, Pittsburgh, and Philadelphia leaving in 10 minutes?
Yes, ma'am, in about 20 minutes.
Excuse me, mister. I'd like to have a key for a locker.
Just a second.
G sharp.
What'd you say?
Oh, nothing.
What do you know? Haven't got an empty one right now. Have to wait a little while.
You mean out of all of these hundreds of lockers, you haven't got one empty?
Well, I'm sorry, mister, but you can see for yourself. A lot of servicemen in town over the weekend.
Well, how long will it be?
10, 15 minutes, maybe a couple hours.
Okay, I'll wait. I'll sit over there. I bought a paper at the newsstand and sat down on one of the benches. I didn't even know what I was reading. I just kept... And then I saw it. On page 2. A complete account of a robbery that had occurred on Friday night at one of the downtown post offices. 2 bandits had escaped with $25,000 in $10 bills. This was it. It must have been. But would the police believe a story like that? Of course they wouldn't. I had the money, and it was my tuning hammer there, lying next to the body in the garden. I got out of that bus terminal in a hurry and walked up 8th Avenue. Where could I go? The only place I could think of was Coney Island. Coney Island and Uncle Herman and his pitch penny concession. It was late, and the island amusement park was almost deserted. It was cold and close to 11. Uncle Herman was leaning against the side of his concession as I walked up.
Why, nephew, what are you doing out this way?
Uncle Herman, quick, let's go in back.
All right. There ain't no customers anyway. Yeah. Oh, what happened, Hercules? Did you give the money back to the man?
I went to meet him at the garden, just like he told me. But when I got there and I found him, he was dead.
Dead?
He'd been beat over the head with my tuning hammer.
Why, Hercules.
I was just about to grab my hammer and bag and get out of there when someone made a lunge at me in the dark. But I got away. I went to a bus terminal to put the money in a locker. I had to wait. And then I read that the money is stolen post office money.
Oh, you got yourself in a mess, nephew.
I'm frantic. I don't know what to do. That's why I came here.
Well, I'm glad you did, nephew. Glad you did.
But what am I going to do?
The best thing would be to go back and get that hammer and bag. Leave the money here. I'll hide it for you.
But maybe I ought to go to the police.
You can't go to the police with that story. They'd never believe you, Hercules.
I know.
Bring your bag and come with me, nephew. I got a hiding place for that money that no one will ever find.
Uncle Herman locked his place up, and then he led me over to the fun house. It was closed now, and the place was all dark. But Uncle Herman had a key. He led me up some stairs to a high ramp that people climb on, to slide down the big chute. He stopped at one of them.
Here, nephew. Right under this top chute, we'll just pry one of the boards loose a little and slip the bag with the money underneath. No one in the world will ever look for it. There we are. Now, give me the bag, nephew.
Here you are, Uncle Herman. Are you sure that no one will find it here?
Absolutely, nephew. You and I are the only ones who know where it is. Well, there's nothing to be afraid of. Now, hand me the bag.
Here you are.
That's it. Now, let's just check to make sure that...
What's the matter, Uncle Herman?
Where's the money, nephew?
The money? What are you talking about? It's in the...
Is this what you call money? Why, this bag's got nothing in it but bundles of torn newspaper.
I don't understand.
Hercules, dear nephew, what did you do with the money?
I don't know. It was in there. You saw it yourself when I brought it home.
This a scheme of yours, Hercules?
Scheme?
Trying to cheat on your dear old uncle, aren't you, Hercules?
Uncle Herman, what are you talking about?
Where's the money, Hercules?
G-flat. That knife. G-flat.
This ain't no time to play games with your Uncle Herman, Hercules.
Uncle Herman, where were you tonight?
What's that, Hercules?
G-flat. Your knife. It's G-flat.
Looks like this thing has got you going, Hercules.
It was you in the garden, wasn't it, Uncle Herman? You killed him.
Let's not waste any more time, nephew. Now tell me where that money is.
I don't know.
Stop lying to your dear uncle, Hercules.
I'm not lying.
I usually use this knife to scale fish. The smell of fish is stronger than the smell of blood.
But I tell you, I don't know where that money is.
You're lying to me. You came down here just to throw me off, didn't you? Make me think you lost the money.
Uncle Herman, stay away from me.
All right, Hercules. So you won't tell your dear uncle.
He rushed at me with the knife. I stepped back, tripped over the board he had pried loose, and fell down. But Uncle Herman... He went hurtling over me, head over heels down the long slide. When I got back down at the bottom of the slide chute, he was dead.
The uncle had his neck broken, Lieutenant.
Yeah. What about the money?
Well, Mr. Remington's wife turned it over to the authorities this morning about 11 o'clock. She said the money wasn't his, and she didn't want him carrying it around.
Well, I guess that'll be all, Mr. Remington. You can go now.
But isn't it dangerous? I mean, the partner is still...
We picked up his business partner a few hours after the robbery.
Oh.
But just in case you happen to come across another $25,000 that doesn't belong to you, promise me that you'll get in touch with the authorities, will you, Mr. Remington?
Oh, I've learned my lesson, Lieutenant. Believe you me, I have.
Yeah, good.
Oh, for heaven's sakes, I almost forgot. I got to call my wife. She's probably frantic by now.
There's a payphone right outside in the corridor.
Payphone?
Yeah, right around the corner. You can't miss it.
Well, she's waited this long. I think I'll just tell her when I get home.
Suspense. Presented by Autolite. Tonight's star, Mr. Jack Benny.
Ah, fine meal, Pepito. So long.
Hey, no dessert, Senor Wilcox?
I never desert, Pepito. I'm always faithful to those 400 fine products for cars, trucks, tractors, planes, and boats made by Autolite in 28 plants from coast to coast. These include complete ignition systems used as original factory equipment on many leading makes of our finest cars. Generators, coils, distributors, electric windshield wipers, voltage regulators, wire and cable, starting motors, and many more. And they're all engineered to fit together perfectly, work together perfectly, because they're all part of the Autolite team. So, friends, don't accept electrical parts supposed to be as good. Ask for and insist on Autolite original factory parts at your neighborhood service station, car dealer, garage, or repair shop. Remember, you're always right with Autolite.
Next week on Suspense, our stars will be Lucille Ball and Desi Arnaz in Early to Death. And in weeks to come, you will hear such famous stars as James Stewart, Ann Baxter, and Rosalind Russell, all on Suspense.
Suspense is produced and directed by Elliot Lewis, with music composed by Lucien Moravec and conducted by Lud Gluskin. Murder in G-Flat was written for Suspense by Richard George Petticini. Portions of this program were transcribed. In tonight's cast, Joseph Kearns was heard as Uncle Herman, Bea Benaderet as Martha, and Larry Thor as the lieutenant. Others in the cast were Clayton Post, Jack Crucian, and Paul Frees. Jack Benny may be heard each Sunday on CBS on his own radio program, The Jack Benny Show.
And remember, next week on Suspense, Lucille Ball and Desi Arnaz in a story about a mysterious airplane crash in the mountains of Mexico. A tale we call Early to Death.
You can buy Autolite Stay-Full batteries, Autolite resistor-type or standard-type spark plugs, Autolite electrical parts at your neighborhood Autolite dealers. Switch to Autolite. Good night.
Tonight, Autolite salutes the men and women leaders in boys' clubs all over America. This is National Boys Club Week, a time to remember that our boys' clubs serve the boy, the community, and the nation by training tomorrow's leaders today. This is CBS, the Columbia Broadcasting System.
All right, Jack Benny. Let's see. I said we were going to play another clip related to the show, and I guess we should do it right here because it relates to the joke that appears at the end of the show. So I'll let you set this up, Dr. Joe Webb. The joke, of course, is that Benny is offered the opportunity by the police to make a phone call because they've denied it to him all throughout the program. He's told that there's a payphone outside, and then, of course, he delivers his little line about, I think I'll go home and call from home or whatever.
Yes.
Yeah. So anyway, tell us why and what this clip is that we're going to hear coming up that kind of trades on that.
The clip is of a discussion from a radio program that was broadcast in Los Angeles called Same Time, Same Station with John and Larry Gassman. And their guest this particular night was Keith Scott, who has been on your podcast many times. Keith is a voice actor, and one of the people that he befriended over the years in Australia was the writer Richard George Pedicini. And Pedicini wrote this script and had retired to Australia, so that's how Keith got to know him. And as they're talking about Benny and the interaction that Pedicini had with Benny in the studio and at rehearsal and the like, it's such a marvelous, marvelous story. But that ending was not in Pedicini's script. That was thought of by Elliot Lewis. And as something that would play very, very well and be consistent with Benny's radio persona. And the script is really, really good, and it turns it into magical at the end because of that. And just listen to the discussion with that. It's only a few minutes.
Okay, we'll hear that, and then we'll come back.
I did a thing for Jack Benny for Suspense called Murder in G Flat. You want me to tell you about that before we...
Okay.
All right.
Because I might play that.
Yeah. Benny wanted to play. Elliot said Benny wants to do kind of a little schnook. He wants to do something close to his. So I came up with this idea of have him playing a piano tuner, and I've listened to Frank Nelson, and I've listened to Dennis Day and all that, and Don Wilson talk about Jack Benny and how much they revered him and all. And I got kind of a personal thing too, because I love the man. I really love Jack Benny, and he. We got in the studio. I'd never met the man before. Like I said, I saw him when I was a little kid and all that. And now suddenly here's the great, mega radio star Jack Benny is doing my script, right? And this is the first thing I sold, and it's like not the first thing, but one of the first scripts. And I'm still a fledgling writer. I don't really. And here's this great talent, and we sat around the table. We met him, sat around the table, and did the read around, and then we got up at the mic, and they got up the mic, and they did the first read-through, and then they did the thing with sound. Then they had a bit of a break. And I remember I went out in the studio, and I was standing there, and he was kind of like going over his lines. And then he walks over to me, and he says,
look, Richard George, I just want to know, am I doing the character the way you hear it, or is it wrong?
No, I thought, I nearly fell down. I mean, here's this man asking me if he's, if he's doing the character. And I wanted to hug him because I was just so. And there was one other thing which I thought was pretty interesting, and I certainly got to give Elliot Lewis credit for this. We really didn't have a good, we had a finish to the script. It was all done in flashback.
Yeah, Benny was talking to the cop who was Jack Crucian, relating the whole story in flashback.
Yeah, in flashback. And Benny keeps saying, look, I want to call my wife, and tell her because I've been out all night, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And, Crucian, as a lieutenant, keeps saying, well, look, just go on. Tell him, Then finally at the end, Benny says, he wants to, and Crucian says, well, you can call your wife now. There's a payphone in the hall.
A payphone. A payphone. Well, I mean, she's waited this long. I'll just tell her when I get home.
Put that in the script.
Isn't that beautiful? Isn't that beautiful? Yeah. And I certainly got to give Elliot Lewis credit for that. That was his. I think it was terrific.
All right. Yes. Definitely ties it all together very nicely and makes it. You're right. Makes it wonderful. Any other comments on that, Dr. Joe?
There's a few other inside jokes in here. One of them, there's a policeman who's complaining about having to work on Sunday, and that was the broadcast day of Benny's show. So even though this was pre-recorded, that's just like a little running gag that he wouldn't be able to hear Jack Benny. The police lieutenant in the story is Larry Thor, who was appearing in Broadway as My Beat, and Elliot Lewis was producer, director, and sometimes writer of that show. So anytime that he had a chance to get Larry Thor to play a police officer in Suspense, he always took advantage of that. it was a running joke, but he also, he wanted Larry Thor's voice to be associated with that cop show. And the original title of the story was Murder in F Sharp, and somewhere along the way they changed it to G flat because I guess G flat is funnier to say than F sharp.
Yeah, well, they always look for that humorous twist, and of course you're right. It is funnier to say that, I guess. All right, we're all laughing about it, so it must be funnier.
Yeah, and I love any script that has Joe Kearns as somebody evil and nefarious. So this is another one.
Classic actor. It's too bad he didn't live long enough to be interviewed by anybody. I don't think there's not one existing interview with him, is there?
No. And for people who don't know who he was, we grew up with Dennis the Menace. He was the next door neighbor,
Mr. Wilson.
Mr. Wilson, and Kearns died at age 55 in I think it's in 1963, and he would have been an incredible guest at any radio gathering, Spurtvac or radio convention, just because he worked for so very long with so many people and on so many shows. I mean, he was beloved.
In 1963. That was 3 years before Pacific Pioneer Broadcasters came into being, so he just missed it.
Yeah.
If you listeners have more questions about Suspense or anything related to that series, you need to be in touch with Dr. Joe's blog. And Dr. Joe, could you explain what that is so people know how to find you and where they can find it?
If you go to suspenseproject.blogspot.com, that's suspenseproject.blogspot.com, you will find a separate blog entry for each and every episode of Suspense, for which we have a recording. And over time, when I'm finished with that sometime in December 2025, I will be going through all of the missing episodes and other Suspense history. So if you want to listen to a Suspense program that you find basically anywhere, just go on the blog, search for that episode's name, and you will find all of the information that we have about the episode, the history, the cast, and all other kinds of information about what was going on at that time.
That's a tremendous work. You've spent a big portion of your life now consumed with this series, and so it gives people a really great history. So I encourage everybody to go over there and explore Suspense further with Dr. Joe Webb. So yeah, on our next episode on Thursday of next week, we will hear one of my all-time favorite comedians in a serious role. And in fact, it is such a serious role, and he does it so well that I really, as I was listening to it, I could not picture him doing it. He was changing his voice. It just didn't sound like him to me. And that person is Stan Freberg. So you Stan Freberg fans out there, and I know there's lots of them because we've played a lot of Stan Freberg shows and we get a great reaction to those. Tune in, download, whatever you do, next Thursday for Stan Freberg in an episode of Suspense. All right, Dr. Joe.
How fitting this is, because it was the Stan Freberg show that replaced the Jack Benny show when it went off the radio.
Oh, okay. So we did Jack Benny this week, and we do Stan Freberg next week, and then we'll backtrack in time because that's how this committee works. We'll backtrack in time to another one that's a little bit earlier after that. All right, this is John Tefteller in the Good Old Days of Radio show. Our thanks again to Dr. Joe Webb for his wonderful contributions and stories. We shall be back next week.